Are we going to experience an October crash? We may. We've seen a great run of over 2 years of stocks appreciating. We are in an expensive stock market. I don't think there's many people arguing that we're not. And having said that, we just came off of a spectacular September where stock prices really rose. September tends to be a month when stocks sell off, but we had stocks go the other way. Glad to see it. Glad to see my stock values go up. But we may be setting up for a pretty rough couple of weeks. If you consider that we have a big election coming at the beginning of November, elections tend to create a lot of anxiety, fear, uncertainty. You add that to the mix of the natural anxiety and fear that comes with stock investing, and it's a little too much for many investors. And they elect to leave the stock market. Just wait it out. Wait it out for a month, maybe two, and see what happens with the election. Come back and invest in mid November. And I would expect we're going to see a Santa Claus rally toward the end of 2024. Now, when I look at the 2 year run we're on, it's been spectacular. Looking at the NASDAQ, we've seen an appreciation rate overall of 75% across the entire NASDAQ. Some stocks like NVIDIA, Meta have just seen incredible appreciation rates, which has been great for investors. Long-term investing pays off. Participating in this great run has been a wealth creation event that will probably really appreciate going forward. Now, all good things must come to an end. We just had a significant correction in 2022 where we saw the stocks really fall quite considerably. We saw stocks fall collectively on the NASDAQ 34.8%. That's a pretty good fall. And I think as we set up the market long term for it being expensive, it won't take a lot for the market to correct to some extent. In this past year, we haven't seen a very big correction. We've seen a couple little drops here or there. In April, for example, we saw a drop of about 7%. And I tend to think that these drops are a little bit of the market taking some medicine. And in July, we saw the NASDAQ drop 13%. That's pretty good. That lets some of the air out of the balloon. And more recently, we saw a drop in August that dropped the market by about 7%. So we're seeing the market begin to kind of give up some of its gains. And as we now have the market going up again, is it going to revert back to a more value-based market where valuations and fundamentals really do matter? I'm seeing a lot of stocks that are just seem really, really expensive, especially in technology. These are interesting companies like Palantir as an example. Palantir has a really interesting proposition to the marketplace, but when you study the fundamentals, they're not growing much faster than Microsoft or other software companies. Yet Palantir can be taken out by the big giant software companies like Microsoft or Google. I don't know that anybody would argue that Microsoft and Google, if they compete directly against Palantir, I would probably think that those two giant companies are going to come out ahead. And I think that's the big fear that I have in Palantir's. I think it's going to drop because they're a software company, and I don't think their product is all that special. We'll see what happens. The market will have to price that stock as it sees fit. That's an example of a very expensive stock that I think is due for a major correction. Overall, I'd be happy for the market to continue to go up in October. I'll be happy to see my portfolio go up in value. But I'm also expecting volatility. And I'm not going to be surprised if the market really begins to correct in October to some extent. I'm a long-term investor. I want to see my stocks really double every 5 years. I want to keep growing my wealth over my lifetime. I want to wake up 10 years from now. I want my portfolio to be 3 times as big as it is today. And that's my goal long term. I'm going to stay invested, but I'm also going to see where the market's at, where sentiment is, and try to expect some events that are coming. So that's my video on the market. I hope you're doing great. I hope you're making a lot of money, and I appreciate your time.